Brian Atkinson. I'm a senior application consultant with Emerson as part of our Industry Solutions group. And within the Industry Solutions group, we provide expertise both sort of vertically within an industry. So we have groups of oil and gas experts, refining experts, chemical experts, as well as across industry. So energy experts, reliability experts are all part of our Industry Solutions group. And what I want to talk about was, at Emerson, we really think that, sort of broadly within the process industry, that we've been doing things like the Internet of Things for a long time now. Going and putting in a process control system and looking at, what are all the data points that I need, getting, smart sensors, smart control elements out in the field is something that, that's certainly not new to Emerson, and it isn't new to industry. What we're looking at here is now, how do we take things that we've done for years and decades, just looking at how do I control a process, and how do I now take that same sort of broad set of tools of gathering pieces of data, turning it into actionable information, and now use it to tackle other challenges. How do we use that mindset to look at energy efficiency, to look at improving reliability within within a facility. And so again, it's taking concepts that, broadly are not new to anyone in this room, but, attacking different challenges with them. So we look at, in terms of, a pervasive sensing type platform is, where we want to get get readings, get ideas, get a view into a broad piece of a platform. You all right, Enrique? And, take that innovative sensing, and then how do we interpret that? That's the real magic here is taking all this data that we're wrapping our arms around and providing context to that and making that into actionable information that you can then go and do something with this data that we're gathering. It's really looking at this, where, in our minds, the more you sense, the more that you could solve. And there's, all sorts of problems that we're facing, that our end users are facing. And again, by taking this data and taking the knowledge that we have in sensing technology, we're really able to really wrap our arms around that data, look at things in the context of, if I know, the pressure on a pump and I know the vibration on the pump and I know the power quality going in, what does that tell me about that entire piece of operations in a facility? And so again, taking helping to wrap our arms around all of that data and turn it into just information that can be acted on rather than, a string of numbers outside of any context. So again, looking at process, process has been, a strong point for, certainly for Emerson and broadly for industry for a long time now. And so, there's a lot of things that we can measure there and information that you can take and help optimize a process. So that was really the starting point of where we came from and where a lot of our customers are. But we also want to look at how do we take that and look at reliability with the same sort of lens, bring in information about different production assets within a facility and take the data that we're bringing in and again, turn that into actionable information by looking at it in context, by looking at, again, different points around a piece of equipment and how do they all tie together. Excuse me. And then, looking at safety. Safety is a huge driver across industries, across all of our end users. And, again, taking this concept of, there's lots of data points out there in a facility that maybe today are someone walking around with a clipboard and a checkbox. How can we, take people from where they are today and, again, drive things like shower monitoring, release valve monitoring, hydrocarbon detection, things that are being done today sort of ad hoc or independent of any systems. How do we bring that information into a larger platform and look at that in context of what's going on in a facility to drive that into actionable information. And then energy monitoring, looking at things like we've the pracs area, looking at how are they consuming energy within the SMLC, feeding that into our energy advisor system, looking at how we're doing with targets versus actuals. Again, taking all the data that's out there, wrapping our arms around it, and giving you something actionable. And there's a whole piece of this, and then feeding it into the remote systems through the cloud-based technology, where we can come in and help you look at this data, help you figure out where are the problems that you need to go and address, and really help you to drive action with the people that you have, the limited resources, to get the most effective use of their time and expertise by pulling all this data in and integrating it together, doing that analysis and giving information. Ooh, this got a little bit ugly. Sorry about that. But really, the whole thing here, it's not just a data collection activity, right? I mean, we want to take advantage of data that's existing and out there. Add measurements where it's helpful to bring additional context to what's going on. Do some analysis with that. And this gets crazy jumbly, so we'll just ignore that. But again, take the data, look at it in context of historical data, as well as in context of what are the other things going on within the facility, to look at not just discrete points of data, but how are they interacting with each other, as well as what have they done recently and where do we think they're heading, and provide some awareness around that. Put it into a web platform, something on your phone, on your computer, take a cloud-based technology so that people can go and look and see where am I having energy consumption, what pieces of equipment are having reliability issues, where have I activated, where has someone pulled a safety shower and eye wash station. Take this and present this in a meaningful and usable fashion, and then help people drive action and take activities based on that. Looking at the alerts that are coming in, driving the real-time actions, digging into the root cause and some predictive maintenance from that. And so again, there's all sorts of places we see where we can apply an Internet of Things concept to bring in lots of information, do that first pass analysis and give actionable information. There's these and many, many more across facilities at our customers. So that was it for my piece.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. So, questions. Did you get your question answered about this? Questions to suppliers. So we talked about smart manufacturing, we talked about being disruptive, we talked about trying to figure out how we can all work together. We talked about our problems are bigger than any individual one company themselves, and said, we need to have a cohesive collaboration and connectivity. You saw a little example of a smattering of suppliers trying to figure out how to win. Questions for us? Yes, sir.
Just hold a second. Let me get you the mic, okay?
Hi. So I see us talk about real-time connectivity between the plant and the cloud. What's the definition of real-time in your opinion? Is it enough? And what are the boundaries around it? So quality of service specifically, right? What do you expect?
What we're experiencing so far with our test beds is real-time is closer to in the seconds. It's clearly not milli and microseconds. But we're able to do it in seconds.
Is that packet level deterministic in your opinion, or is it
Yes.
or is it TCP/IP type best effort?
Packet level. Other questions? Uh-oh.
Hold on.
No, he's going to ask a...
No, we'll do this.
I guess a question that the suppliers can kind of pick up. When you're moving to the cloud-based model, there's two major changes or potential changes. Can you comment on your software architecture changes that either you've had to undertake or you think you'll have to undertake? And then on a more commercial side, the licensing model. because the classic licensing models and automation software really doesn't map very well to, cloud-based as a service type of solutions.
Awesome question, because we're fighting that in our test bed. So who wants to start? Jimmy, you look like you're ready to start. Sure. You want to, I think that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the two parts, I guess. The first one was change in different components with cloud versus traditional infrastructure. So absolutely, we see the changes, and those have to come down to looking at the architecture from a systems approach. The slide that I kind of put up earlier was classifying different modules within inside of the software, and then each one of those modules have to interplay with one another to work. So there's a component of fault detection, there's a component of base infrastructure, there's a component of workflow to knit or a change of data between different places in the store of that data. As you can imagine, all of us, I believe, are on the Microsoft stack. So we've had to go through different iterations to get that inside of cloud and computing infrastructure as well, too.
Any others want to take a shot?
Sure, I'm back. On the commercial side, I mentioned the service provider model. That isn't really our traditional pricing model to our customers. So we start talking about pay-as-you-go pricing to match the business models, including revenue share or a price per connection type of point. So that is how we've learned from this exercise to change our business model. From a technology point of view, we've embarked on some cloud technology to exchange data via the cloud as a broker, where the publish and subscribe capability is there as well. So that ability not to open the whole kimono with all the data, but only the publish and subscribe, and with some context as well. So those are some of the things that we've learned from the exercise.
Thank you. It's a good question. So definitely there's architectural changes. And one of the things that I'll just add is with the cloud, we've seen changes in how we approach visualization too. We bring mobility into it more from the architectural standpoint because that's definitely part of it. From a costing structure, really I think the cloud gives you flexibility to do things we never could do before. We're able to hit price points in smaller applications. We're actually able to put control and data analytics on trucks where we wouldn't have done that and be able to scale that from 1 or 2 up to thousands. And that gives us a lot more flexibility than we've ever had in the past.
And we found obviously that the real key in designing an architecture is having that flexibility to have a continuous available offering, whether someone wants it entirely on premises or cloud-based. And so that's where we're finding, we've had some hiccups that we've had to work through. I mean, if you go and talk to Microsoft, they've got, brilliant things that they could do with their Azure cloud, but it requires that it be cloud-based. And certainly not everyone is comfortable with sharing data into the cloud yet. So we've been putting a lot of work and thought into how do you build something that today can be on-premise, and then a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whenever the people are ready to sort of pull the switch to go cloud, we're designing with that in mind, that you can move smoothly from one end of the spectrum to the other as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Jerry?
Did the general dynamics piece hold 1 sec. What? 1 sec.
Go ahead.
Did the general dynamics piece have to deal with export control and the cloud-based solution, and how did you do that?
Yes, they did, and I do not know the answer. But I can get back to you on that one. I have your number.
Just like a new technology, when the new technology comes in, the price is very high. So many vendors come up with their proprietary protocols and things like that. IoT is in like a same boat. It's earlier age in my definition, because each and every vendor that comes into our door, I'm in the manufacturing segment, each and every vendor comes into the door, whether they are sell any parts or any software or anything, they said, we will do the IoT, we will do the IoT. And so then the question comes in and everybody comes and say, we do in a cloud, we support cloud. But now suddenly you're going to have 100 clouds vendor where you are just replicating your data. And so one of the part was the pipe size from each plant, each location. When you have 100 sites and we don't have direct internet from each location, now you bring it to the hub. So the whole infrastructure piece and things that we are looking for incremental, slowly in a path, suddenly becomes like a nightmare. And so two-part questions, and that was the comment, but the two-part question is there going to be like a narrow down where you just have one broker, you put all the data to the one broker, and you pick up the best of the services that you wanted to sell to other vendors? Or you will have a Rockwell automations and then send the data to the Rockwell. You have a vending machine from Fastenal, you send it to that data. You have another vendor. And so do you see all this combining into one place? Or you will be sending data to every place?
I'll take a shot at that. So more the former than the latter. How many people are familiar with the Department of Energy proposal to create a Smart Manufacturing Institute? A couple. Okay, so again, this problem that we've addressed this afternoon is bigger than any one of us. So the U.S. government has just, it's been closed now, but had through I guess basically 2 weeks ago, they asked for submissions for organizations to submit their ideas of how to create a Smart Manufacturing Institute. The government the Department of Energy would contribute $70 million as long as your proposal matched that amount. Our Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition submitted a proposal that in fact met those requirements. So you think about that, there's going to be 140, 150, $200 million of investment going in this space, much like digital manufacturing and what Dean Bartle's organization is doing. So this concept of, so what's this going to look like? Is it going to be a free-for-all out in the marketplace, or is there going to actually be a catalyst and a mechanism to come to a hub or a home? The U.S. government is trying to accelerate that answer. You will hear more about that in the next 2 months as they kind of come to closure as to how this is going to go. So I think the story is still to be written. Your points are spot on. I think as a supplier of information that's needed, I don't want to have pipes to everybody. So I'm much more in the former camp of get my information out there and let folks shop that. I don't know if anybody else wants to comment on that.
Yeah, we also see the wild, wild west of heterogeneous type of solutions. I mean, part of the things we've looked at is kind of concentrator technologies for within the enterprise, but then outside the enterprise, obviously leveraging a cloud to handle that horizontal scalability piece. But yes, we don't expect, all in one place. We actually kind of expect a hybrid architecture of on-premise and cloud. And I think that's the happy medium we're trying to get to.
Maybe I could build on that as well. So if we look at a factory today, we have control that's done on many different levels. We have control that may be done in sensors themselves or actuators themselves. We have control that's done in controllers. We have control that's done in industrial computers on the factory floor, and we have control that's done above that. Data analytics is going to really be the same way. You're going to do data analytics at different levels depending on the response time that's required. So not all data is going to be coming out. It's going to be filtered as it goes, so that you only really see a subset of it coming out that's important, and more of the macro data that's important at the higher level.
Now, with the systems becoming bigger and bigger, spanning more and more partners, obviously it becomes somewhat more difficult to spot problems and allocate them in the whole chain. So any experiences out of your pilot how these problems might be resolved? Because finally, You have to find whatever is responsible, and especially connected with the fact that standardization and being able to test particular parts against a standard interface are not yet available.
So, speaking of standardization, there maybe just one description of that. Today, and in factory floors, industrial automation, there's about 60 to 80 standards that are relevant to IoT technologies that exist today in the IEC, in ISO, in ISA, and IEEE. Those are out there today, and the vendors are using those today. And we see that the key to a lot of the things we're talking about doing is leveraging the standards that are out there today, enhancing those. There isn't necessarily a revolution that's going to occur. There will be new standards that occur and new solutions that occur, but be building upon those existing solutions. As far as who solves what, I think you're going to see people that have expertise in different areas address those and bring their expertise into those. One vendor can't solve all the problems, so we're going to see many people cooperating, and I think that's really what this is about, is having people bringing their best skills and being able to put that in this application platform and serve those up so they can be used to solve problems that one vendor can't solve.
Jim, we have a question right here, and then time for maybe one more after that.
Your last comment just teed up my question, and it was more directed to the Smart Manufacturing Leadership Coalition. How do you find, how easy or hard do you find getting integrated all of the participants, basically the vendors, into the systems that were in the companies? Because we're not talking about small companies, right? But kind of at the end of the idea of the whole coalition is basically drive it to the smaller, mid-size, that doesn't have all their resources that these companies had to try to work all that brain power into seamlessly integrated proprietary systems, open source, and all of these into the cloud-based ecosystem, which is not that easy either to digest. So how easy do you think it's going to be for those smaller based companies to adapt based on your experience?
I think, so it's a great question. I think for smaller, it's going to be easier, actually, than larger. Because larger is so siloed already and so deterministic with the suppliers that they have. On the smaller, it's like, do I care if I have Tableau or Spotfire? No, I just want to visualize something. And so what you're going to see is those products from these folks are going to be built into the framework for it. And then as far as the cost goes, it's going to be little or nothing. So I think the small side is going to be quite a bit easier than the large side.
Okay, any other questions here today? Great. Well, thank you very much, Jim, and thank you for all your panelists and all your speakers today. Great job.